DNA, what does everybody think about?
Like the little structure thing is like,
Yep. What do you think about?
genetics.
Genetics. Very good word. What do you think about?
Both of theirs, genetics, your genetic structure.
Yep, yep.
Family.
Family. I like that one. DNA is, we're all made up of all kinds of DNA. DNA determines your hair color, your eye color, how you look, your nose, whether you have good vision or poor vision and need glasses. And so it's all very important information about us. But did you know that from your DNA, I can tell you who your second and third great grandparents are? Anybody know who your second and third great grandparents are? You do? You got a big family tree? Yeah, do you know how many great grandparents you have?
8.
That's right. So second great grandparents, you have 16, and it grows, it doubles from there. So today we're going to talk about DNA and your family tree. I'm not a real science person, so if you feel like you need to know a lot about science, no, I am not a science person. Are you a science person, Johnston? No. See, and this is not something that you feel like you have to go back to science class, in biology class, in chemistry class, all those classes that scared me. So when we talk about DNA and your family tree, why should I learn about DNA? Genetic genealogy is a job that's going to be in your future. It's not a job now that very many people have. There are a handful of people. I bet you if I put up this hand, that's probably as many people who are working with genetics using family trees. And so this is why I feel like it's important, because this is a job that when you're ready to go to college, you might have the option to study. But today, I can't go take any classes at college to learn more about it. Anybody have questions? Jobs of the future are very important. You need to be thinking now what you're interested in, what you would like to do when you're grown up, because when you get a job and you have to spend 40 hours a week, every week, you need to like what you do. You need to like how you get paid. You need to like the people you're in that job with. All very, very important things to remember when you're thinking about your grown-up job. Today, police are using this technology to catch criminals. Has anybody heard any stories about that? Anything? What have you heard? Huh? Speak up. Yeah. So they're taking old crime cases that have gone unsolved for 20, 30, even 50 years. And they're now using DNA technology and building family trees to figure out either who this missing person is or who this this person who committed maybe a murder. And so they're using this information. Yes?
So also kind of the reason why cops put their hand on top of your car, so if the person hurts the cop, they can track down the car, and if it has the cop's fingerprints, they know that it's the right person that assaulted the cop.
That's an interesting, yeah. Cops probably do all kinds of stuff like that to help prove that you and I don't even think about. Are you interested in like cops and detective work? Okay. Just interested. Yes.
They find the family trees and find their family members that are still alive and ask them about the criminal.
You know, sometimes people don't know who that person is. They just know that they're related because you have second cousins, you have third cousins, and In my results, my third and fourth cousins, I've got about 50,000 of them. That's a lot of cousins, so you gotta know where they come from. Other people using this technology right now are crime labs. If people go missing and then a body is found, but the body, there's no wallet, they have no way to identify that person, they can use this technology in order to track down the parents of this person or the siblings of this person to figure out who should get the body. Because has anybody ever known anyone that goes missing and you've never heard of what happened to them? So, I mean, they're somewhere. They're not lost. They just haven't been found yet. And this technology is gonna find everybody who's been found so far. And the other person using this are family genealogists. That would be my category. I like to go snooping on family trees and see who's related to whom and figure out how they're related or how they're not related and stuff like that. What can your DNA tell about you? So we talked about this briefly, but your eye color, your hair color, straight hair or curly hair, it can tell a whole lot about you. But your DNA can really tell me a lot about your ancestors, even 6 generations away from you. And anybody can figure out how many grandparents we have at 6 generations? A lot. A lot. Whatever times 4. All right, definitions we need to know. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll learn a few more, but pedigree. It's a chart showing one's relationship to one another. You hear a lot about like dog pedigrees and such. And so a pedigree chart, and we've got one here. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna ask you guys to fill out a pedigree chart and take it home. And the most important thing I want you to find out, how many of you guys have 4 living grandparents? Okay, I want you to talk to every grandparent you can. And the specific thing I want you to ask about are their grandparents. They knew their grandparents like you know your grandparents. Some are super close and some are a little more distant. But whatever you can find out today about your grandparents, it's important. Write it down, write a journal. Keep that information because when you're my age, you'll be like, I wish I'd asked my grandmother more about this, more about that. So this is a pedigree chart and we're gonna fill it out. When we fill it out, we talk about women always in their maiden name. So whatever name they were born with. So your mother's name is not the name you know her by now, the last name. It's her daddy's name, generally. So we'll pass these out and we're gonna do these in a little bit. The other one is Ancestry, one's family. Generally when we talk about ancestors or Ancestry, we're more or less talking about your deceased relatives who have gone on before you. Information that maybe you don't have about them. And so doing genealogy helps us figure out who they are, who their parents are, where did they live, what did they do as a job? All important factors. And then genealogist is a person who traces or studies lines of a family. This is a form of a pedigree. What is it?
Bracket.
Boys?
March
Madness bracket. And you start with 2 teams and one beats the other and you narrow it down. So that's like your pedigree, only we're starting with you. And then we go back to your parents, your mother, your father, and then their parents, their mother, their father. So with a pedigree, the most important element is that grandparent element. So we're really gonna focus on 4 grandparents. That is how in DNA we find an ancestry line. If the 4 grandparents don't match, like he's got a sibling that shares the same father. If the grandparents don't match on one side, it might not be you, it might be your sibling. So we have to find where the match works perfectly, like a puzzle. But this is why I do this. Lots of grown-ups who were adopted want to know, who are my biological parents? And that is what I find using DNA. Every few days I can tell somebody else who their birth parents are. And you know, they're really most important. They want to know if they have died, what did they die of? That matters to me, because if they had a disease that I need to worry about, that is what they need to know. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a project, but for next week, we are going to make sense out of your Skittles. So your Skittles is your 4 grandparents. And so we're going to find out which grandparent is green, which is yellow, which is red, and who gave you the browns. We get all kinds of DNAs from all of those relatives, and we got to sort out who they are.
I
Yes.
only have 3.
You only have 3. Well, you do have 4. Ask your parents, because maybe one has died. So now we are going to make a pedigree chart. I'll get your question in just a minute. We're going to make a pedigree chart. It can look like this, or it can look a little more like, let me see if I can get back to it. Or it can look like that. The most important element of this pedigree chart, I want you to make sure these 4, who are these people?
Grandparents.
Grandparents. Make sure 4 colors, 4 different colors are used for your 4 grandparents. Doesn't matter about these colors for me, but make sure you use 4 different colors to represent your 4 different grandparents.